Hey everybody, Mike Rizzo. Thanks for joining me again. This is part 2 of the Are We Ready for Marriage video clip. So I'm here again at Niagara Falls, and behind me is where the Niagara River goes over the falls. Very wonderful place. It's actually a place where we did part of our honeymoon 38 years ago. So yep, 38 years married as of right now, and 65 years of age. And there's a concept that's really, really important that a lot of young couples that we do premarital counseling with don't think about it, and rightly so. But we always bring it up because it's so important to plan for it. There's a verse of scripture where Paul says to Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6 and 7, he says, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought the good fight, I've finished the race, I've kept the faith." Now, in the beginning stages where chemistry is running high and the couple's, been dating and going through courtship, engagement, married or newly married, they're not thinking about end-of-life things, right? But looking back, being married for a while now, being a little older, it's so important to plan for this, because to have this sense of what I call contented reflection that Paul had. Contented reflection, looking back, having a sense of I've finished the race, I fought the fight, I finished the race, and my life has been poured out for God and in service to God, and it feels good. And so to accomplish that, to come to that place of looking back with contented reflection over a life poured out, the secret is to pour out your life daily. Pour out your life, of course, unto the Lord, and then unto your spouse first and foremost, and then your family. From another perspective, Jesus also talked about how we cannot serve two masters in life, and how important it is to lay up treasures in heaven. And so by the way that we live our life, by how we treat people, how we love God, we are laying up eternal treasures that we will inherit someday as rewards from the Lord. Very, very important. And my wife and I will often talk about this from time to time, about how we really are together laboring to build a relationship that glorifies God and really is laying up treasures in heaven. And there's another verse of scripture that's been very powerful in our lives. Again, the Apostle Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, he says, "For we who live are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, that the life of Jesus may be manifested. So death is at work in us, but life in you." Really, really key principle for living the Christian life and the married life, where you surrender your life to God and you die to self, you go to the cross, and then out of that you're able to give to other people. And so when I'm doing that, and when my wife is also going to the cross, living that surrendered life, dying to self, then life is released to me. And so we're releasing life to one another through, for Jesus' sake, dying to self, living a surrendered life. And so always being given over to death so that life is released is a huge, huge key of success to marriage. And over the past 35 years of doing marriage counseling, when couples cannot reconcile, they have usually totally lost sight of this concept. All they're seeing is what the other person isn't doing or is doing that's irritating them, and they kind of drift away from this place of the cross. And so just imagine such a, what we call vertical marriage, two lives poured out for Jesus and poured out for one another, laying up treasures in heaven. That's a great vision to have. So thanks again for joining me. Our website is there on the screen, and you'll see more of our writings there. You'll see links to our book, Vertical Marriage, and also our free ebook, Marry the Right Person, How to Find Your Perfect Match. Feel free to download it and share it with a friend. This is Mike Rizzo, and thanks for joining me.